Hello, all creatives, community, kind folks out there. Hello. Welcome to RPG DBJ. I am your host, DBJ. And today we are talking dreams and dreamscapes. And today is Thursday. It's a special day for me because as your self-appointed third pillarist, I love the third pillar of gaming, which is known as exploration. First two pillars being combat and social interaction, respectively. But exploration to me, I hold dearly because I absolutely love I love movies. I love the visual medium. And I bring up, if you have any knowledge of this channel, I bring up movies all the time. And I use them as references because for me as a visual person, I'm able to see things and embrace them and just feel the visceral nature of them. Well, what does that have to do with tabletop gaming? The environment is, to me, that third pillar, that third leg. It's that triangle that can really take. Maybe we're getting a little monotonous with our encounters. Maybe we want to bring some more of that cinematic environment to our gaming table, and that's where I love to. I love to just embrace that and make things shine. So, well, what does that have to do with our subject this week? Well, the subject this week is dreams. It's dreams, nightmares. Oh, sorry, Boff. Yeah, we were our preamble. We have a preamble in the Discord over at Fantasy Grounds College, and because this channel, along with going live on YouTube, we simulcast through Discord, the audio through Discord, and over there in the boiler room, ways you slide all the way down the bottom. That's where we hang out at, and we were talking about the currently. Hurricane Dorian sliding up the east coast of the United States, and one of our participants said the power just dropped, and wow, which in and of itself is not to make light of that situation, but hurricanes and tornadoes and weather events and things like that, I absolutely love using them in role-playing games. But this week we've been talking about dreams, dreamscapes, nightmares, imagination nations, the embrace of a place where it exists in a mental plane or something. And of course, today being Third Pillar Thursday, we have to talk about dreamscapes, and in the literal sense, and being able to break the mold of physics and really dive deep into physically and literally into environments that sometimes wouldn't even make sense in any logical sense. I believe that there's plenty of movies that deal with dreamscapes, whether it's Doctor Strange and the reality warping nature of Doctor Strange and one of the main protagonist's showdowns with an enemy, whether it's the movie The Cell or Where Dreams May Come or Inception, or an old movie, Dreamscape itself, and plenty of others where the nature of the world starts to shift and change, whether it's based on someone's nightmares or memories or encounters with a particularly dark or intense psychological encounter. I mean, just imagine yourself falling through the clouds from having a fear of falling, and you fall towards a vast ocean, plunge through the waters of the vast ocean, sink deep through the ocean, come out the other side of the ocean to literally be exposed to the air and falling yet again or something, or finding yourself I made the joke before about finding yourself being shrunk down to 6 inches tall and having to weed your way through, tall grasses to make your way past domesticated cats and small field mice, although each of them being, twice your size or larger or what have you. Now, our own, if we want to go down the path of our fears, there's plenty of fears people have about the environment itself, if not the animals or beasties that live in it. But using the environment itself, we could mix and match them in a dream world or a dreamscape, especially if in our setting we are diving deep into the minds of say a particular individual or adversary or victim. For example, fears of drowning would make perfect sense to have a place filled with random or intense or strangely shaped locations with fluid and water, much like I made a descriptor of a gelatinous cube, and instead of it eating people like acid, it just drowns them. It's just a cube sliding through the air or sliding across the ground that just happens to drown people that are trapped in it. Or maybe you are existing in a town or a city in someone's mind, and if you look down in any random location, whether it's inside of a home or in the streets or in the second or third story of a normal building, if you look down, maybe the water levels are rising around your feet and it's following you around and you have a time limit. Dead Man, the storyteller, says instead of a gelatinous cube is an aqueous cube. I kind of like it. I mean, of course I'm being sarcastic, but why not? why not have that? And, you could have an aqueous cube. What are some really cool fears? Maybe you could have an arachnid cube. The cube slides over you, and then you're just inundated with spiders or something, or snakes or whatever. But it's only inside the cube, and it's like, oh, there's cubes of fear. Great. Yeah, I mean, maybe instead of like falling into something to drown in it, or maybe if you have a fear of heights or a fear of falling, maybe instead the fear surrounds you instead of you surrounding the fear. So you could have like a cube, and you're like, why does that cube look like clouds? That's weird. It's just a cube of clouds just moving around. And then if it comes over top of you, you don't see the outside world. All you see is yourself falling through the sky. And maybe there's like a skeleton inside of the cube with the clouds just seemingly grasping at the air, but actually literally it's like airflow around you and you're just falling forever. That would just be really strange. And the cube just keeps on moving along like, doo, 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 doo. I'm going to go around this corner with a PC inside of it going like, help me. And everyone's like, dude, you're right there. Like, I can literally reach out my hand and grab you. Like, no, be careful. And the PC reaches their hand inside the cube to grab your forearm. And then you just get pulled off of the city street. And then you're just falling inside of it. I think stuff like that would be kind of cool to put in and strange and kind of wicked. You could even, talking about fears, yesterday we even made a silly description of like a city based around the number 13 and such. Like, you could make whole environments where they are just their physical description is of a place that's shaped around the various fears people have, whether it's the major fears like the public speaking, drowning, burning, falling, being watched, being exposed, like the public speaking thing, like, being out in public and being naked, or being hunted, snakes, spiders. What are some other little nasties that people hate? Snakes, spiders, diseases, things of that nature. Thanks, Dead Man. We were talking about RVs before we started in a little preamble over in the Discord at Fantasy Grounds College, and he's like, "Yeah, VW bus-sized RV." Oh yeah, there are some ingenious RVs. I know I highly squirreled. I don't need to go down that path, and I know you didn't mean it, Dead Man, but there are some very small camper-like RVs that expand into, nearly triple their size when fully unraveled. And yes, this has to do with our subject today. Having space and time, because dreams can fluctuate with space and time, it would make perfect sense to have a very small building, much like a Baba Yaga's hut kind of thing on chicken legs, to be very small on the outside, but when you walk inside of it, it's very large. And you could have a whole city where the city is literally like 100 times its normal size if you were to account for all of the small doors and alleyways and havens that live there. Like maybe there's a little small alley with a small door. Um, and you go into the tavern, and of course, the tavern is huge. You know, the tavern might be, it might literally have different floors, and each floor of the tavern is a different landscape. Like there's a desert, and or maybe there's maybe a beach, and then there's a tropical area, and you can literally sit there when you go into the main floor. You look up the stairs, and up the stairs you see like the sun shining, and you see maybe people sitting in lounge chairs on the beach. And then you look up to like the third level, you can kind of just barely see something in the mountains. Maybe there's some snow falling down the stairs, and you see people in like winter gear and stuff, gesturing for yet another drink or what have you. That would be pretty cool to put in a dreamscape, because technically you don't have to have rules. Now, it makes sense to have rules because we don't necessarily want complete chaos. We want there to be some sort of rationality for why it exists. And now that rationality could give it some form of chaos itself, meaning every year, every month, week, day, hour, or even every moment, every round, and classic Dungeons and Dragons or something, every round something could change, but there may be a reason for it, whether it's on purpose, like a casino that's like you're fighting a big bad in its own chaotic haven, and literally its chaotic haven is the creature is completely unaffected by the environment, but every round the environment changes. Like maybe it goes through all 4 seasons, so you're fighting the big, I don't know, Cyclops or Etten or Troll or so, whatnot. And these beasties live there, and you're like, oh, it's like springtime. Okay, no big deal. And then within seconds, all of a sudden it starts to get hot and baked, and you're like, what the hell's going on? And then suddenly all the leaves fall off the trees around you, like literally, not stop motion, but advanced time lapse. And then all of a sudden you're just blasted with a blinding blizzard as the troll comes down to try to with a big club smacking away one of the PCs and trying to grab you up by the lapels of your shirt. And you're like, what the hell's going on? I'm freezing. And all of a sudden the snow goes away, and suddenly there's like a thunderstorm and a bolt of lightning strikes down or something. I think that would be really awesome. And especially if you're designing your dream realm to have a map of sorts, right? There could be not necessarily a physical map like north, south, east, west, but there could be a psychological map. Like, oh, if you go to this area, it is the realm of chaos. And if you go to this other area, it's the realm of the time that never ends. Or give it some kind of really cool, give it some really descriptive name to it. And the PCs are like, the realms of chaos. All right, let's go. And then all of a sudden they're besieged. One round there's necrotic lightning, black lightning bolts striking from the sky. And then the round after that, the ground is growing with thorny vines that are grasping at the thighs of the PCs, poisoning them and restraining them down. And then all of a sudden the round after that, there's like, blackened glass like sand that's like a sandstorm, flaying their flesh and such. And then all of a sudden a big, I don't know, mile high tidal wave sweeps through them, and then they're just it literally moves like a screen wipe. Just the water just moves across the realm, and then the PCs are literally like a mile down at the bottom of a vast ocean, only for that ocean to then move across their field of vision to drop them into like a deep jungle or something like that. I think that would be great. Now, you could also bake places where people live that are surrounded by their psychological fears and for the PCs, it might be pretty horrible, but for the people that live there in the cities themselves in a dreamscape, it's no big deal. For example, a city in built inside of a spider web, completely inundated with spiders, both big and small. Much like maybe people are riding on the back of spiders, using them as work, or carrying. Maybe they are carrying dreamlike detritus around with them and selling them as wares in this dreamscape. Maybe people have like they're not valuable, but they're having a dream. There's a forgotten dream of someone's wagon and their wheel was broken on the wagon, and they're just like upset about it, and they don't know what to do, and there's no one around, and they don't know how to fix it, and they're just like panicked, and they're throwing their hat down, and they're pissed off, and they're kicking the wagon, and their loved one, their partner, comes over and is trying to console them, and they just push them away, and then they like take the wagon wheel that's broken, and they're just like, argh! And it could be this loop over and over again, and there's like stealing. Thank you, Ted. Howtopronounce.com. Click aqueous. Why do you guys do that to me? I'm going to pronounce it at least correctly once and then devolve into mispronouncing it yet again. That's what I do here. It's only you guys that make me look smart. So I'm imagining a city, okay, fear of spiders, city filled with spiders. But what do you do about a city like a fear of heights or fear of falling? So imagine there's a huge cliffside, and the cliffside, like you look over the edge of the cliff and it just goes down into the clouds, and there's a long walkway, like a drawbridge that goes to the city, and PCs are like, there's just is the city floating out there? Because there's just like a single drawbridge going to, okay, let's go across the drawbridge. The PCs go across the drawbridge. They are introduced. They go through the town guard, whatever the hell it might be, and then the drawbridge lifts, and then all of a sudden the entire city just falls away from the cliff, like literally falling, and like things in the city are floating as if they are eternally falling, and the city goes into a death spiral as it falls through, but the people that live there are so used to it that it's not a big deal for them. So you could do like much like how movies that want to simulate falling, they do it inside of airplanes that are designated to fly very high, to have a very high altitude. And what happens is they take it's not technically a nosedive, but really it's a steep dive down towards land, and they take that steep dive, and so everything inside of it is falling at the same rate, and so you end up getting this like 0G effect. And I can imagine like a very weird, strange city there's streets and there's homes, and all of a sudden all like things start like yeah, dead man, the vomit comet. Yeah, all of a sudden everything starts falling in the city, and Tesla Ranger even put in the Discord, like the reduced gravity aircraft. Yeah, there are, you can, if you have the money and the scheduling, you can schedule a ride on that reduced gravity aircraft. It's depending on the speed and angle of the reduced gravity aircraft, you may not even hit weightlessness. You might hit like a half G moment where you're just light in your steps and your footing, and a 50-pound weight ends up being feeling like it's only like 5 ounces, until it gets to the point where everything is in balance and then starts floating through the air, because literally all the molecules, all the materials in it start falling at the same rate. And until such point at which everything goes back to. Of course, there's the opposite as it starts to end, and you get pushed back. Imagine go what a weird, strange city as some average person is just lazily like riding their wagon with their horses, and all of a sudden the city starts falling, and the wagon wheels start coming up, and then the horses' legs start like just doggy pedaling in the sky, and the lazy wagoneer is just like lazily holding on to the reins, like floating away a little bit, and it's just like, giddy up there, buddies, get, damn it. Looking back and seeing their crap lift off out of the wagon and stuff. That would just be very strange. House cats floating in the air, coming out of the windows as kids are grabbing cats by the tails to pull them back in the house and stuff. Oh man, that would be terrible to have. While I guess that we could throw that in the future Friday, because we don't necessarily relate zero gravity to falling, but essentially why so many people get so sick when they go into zero gravity, including the astronauts that have to train themselves to do it, is because your brain is conditioned to think of zero gravity as a state of eternally falling. And so you start to get a lot of vertigo, a lot people lose their lunch and start to vomit until they get used to it, because your brain is telling you, oh shit, like I am literally falling forever and ever, and trying to fall asleep and do things is very bizarre, because it would be strange to imagine yourself like, oh, I'm just going to type on my computer or tie my shoe while I'm falling off the side of this building or jumping out of a plane, aircraft. But yeah, they're the same thing. Yeah. Alley-oop's like, damn it, there goes my lasagna, my favorite. Well, if you're quick enough, second time around, tastes less like the first time, right? Yeah. Pretty nasty, like slurping that spaghetti back in. Man. Oh yeah, Tesla put it in Discord. According to former reduced gravity research program director John Yaniak, anxiety contributes most to passengers' air sickness. The stress on their bodies creates a sense of panic and therefore causes the passengers to vomit. Yaniak gives a rough estimate of passengers that 1/3 become violently ill, the next third moderately ill, and the final third not at all. Vomiting is referred to as ill. Yeah. It was like sloppy seconds. No, thank you. Yeah. Unless somebody else is like, you gonna eat that? You done with that? Like, oh. Oh my God. Oh, sorry about the visuals there, but that's what we do here. Yeah. Okay. Maybe we should pivot away from falling and sucking up the the end results of that. But I suppose if you want to be hilarious and also sicking your player characters, being in a city of people vomiting up their dinners and other people like, I can make more money off of that. I'm going to take my meal back and put it on a plate. We could get past that. Although we understand that Popeye's chicken sandwich is really hard to find now. So I don't know. A pre-chewed chicken sandwich at Popeyes might, according to the way it tastes, maybe second time around, it's still just as good. Yeah, you might want to think about that one. All right, so some of the other environments we might encounter, maybe in the wilds of a dreamscape. Yes, I'm doing a hard pivot away from this. So some of the things we might encounter in the wilds of a dreamscape might be like Escher-esque, in a sense, meaning the classic the classic image in a movie where someone is they're standing on the floor and the room starts to pivot where in order for them to stay on their feet they have to walk up the walls and then maybe on the ceiling, and that would be kind of a cool interaction. Yeah. Alley-oop says, yeah, chumming is best left for baiting. Now, you see, guys, make me pivot right back around to it. Maybe there are predators that are adapted to this zero G. Like, for example, let's take something like a crocodile, or maybe like a boulet, a land shark that's like, ooh, we're floating through the air. This is great. There's lots of victims here. I love it. And the people getting violently ill are like, are the ones. Yeah, Tesla's like, oh, what a feeling. Yeah, when we're dancing on the ceiling. Yep. If anyone has seen that very old video, you can, of course, I'm sure you can find it on YouTube, of how they filmed the dancing on the ceiling video by having choreographed dancers in a room that's on a pivot. Because of course we know you can't really dance on the ceiling. What happens is they pivot the room at the same rate at which the camera moves, or they keep the camera steady. The room just moves, so it looks like people are walking up the walls and the ceiling. But hell, we're in a tabletop RPG. Your entire dungeon can flip upside down and flip on the walls and ceilings, and they don't have to even flip at the same time. Each room could have its own rate of turning, or you could roll a 6-sided die, and you could give a cube, the floors, the ceiling, and 4 walls, its own number, and roll a die 6, and then each round or whatever, or randomly you roll a die and you're like, oh, it's a 6. You're on now the gravity's on the ceiling, and everyone on the floor is just like, damn it, oh, and gets slammed up onto the ceiling. And there might even be there might be hazards based on the facing of the room. So the person that wants to exit the door, now the door, which was on the left side of the floor, is now on the ceiling because you're on the other wall. And now you have to like do like you can't jump 60 feet, and you're like, can I grab on the chandelier? And you're like, yeah, sure. Or and maybe, it's possible the furniture is flipping along with the PCs, dumping into them, or maybe the furniture doesn't move at all. So the chandelier and the candles and everything in it, or the lanterns and stuff, are literally facing upside down, and the PC could like climb up the chandelier to stand on the bottom of the chandelier to try to reach up to the table, which is upside down, because that's where their sword is sitting. Until they can get there. Yeah. Yep, spikes on portions of the walls and ceilings. That would be so weird, but sweet. Yep, Lionel Richie dancing on the ceiling. YouTube link. Hey, listen, here's a perfect reason why. Although there's plenty of reasons why you should join the Fantasy Grounds college Discord, because not only do we hang out there, but you can click the links, because you can't post links and or pictures into the YouTube chat, but you can sure do that over at the Discord. So yeah, now you got to follow. Listen, you join the college, you got to follow their rules and regs. So please do that. But yeah, oh man, that I think that would be kind of sweet though, especially if of course, in the beginning, you're probably going to want to pick a smaller room to think about all the problems that might be on it. But when the PCs go into a room and go, why are there spikes on the ceiling? Holy shit! He gets slammed into the spikes over and over again. And then of course, you get impaled on the spikes and then slide off the spikes to the floor to be impaled on the spikes again while fighting like an enemy that's like maybe used to it. Ugh. Now, of course, what would make it even more hilarious is the PCs are also maybe tracking down, or there's enemies also in this dreamscape that are not adapted to it, who are having the same issues and same problems the PCs are having. So like a PC that drops their sword might be on a wall, but their sword still falls down to where the floor used to be. So a dropped sword could literally fly up into the air while they've just been impaled on the spikes or something. Ali said that would be a short manhunt. Well, maybe retrieving the body might be more difficult than we think it is. But so all right, so we've got ourselves like a falling city. We've got ourselves like a chaos realm where things, maybe the seasons change over and over again. But let's go even further now. you can, much like the very first introduction, um, Doctor Strange, as the medical doctor, was introduced to what the metaphysical realm looks like. Imagine this. You're standing, all right, PCs, you're standing there on a a shallow field of moisture, and it doesn't look like a beach, but there's something soft under your feet. It looks pale, maybe ivory, not quite white, and there are thin veins of red inside. And for some reason, you look at the horizon, there are these black spikes curved almost like treeless tropical trees. And no, but you look down and your eye itches and you realize you're standing on the surface of your own eyeball, and your eye itches. And when you go to scratch your eye, you look up in the sky and your own fingertip is coming down upon you. And you're standing on the surface of your own eyeball, which means you're also standing on the surface of your own eyeball, who's also standing on the surface of your own eyeball. Like, you could do the strangest, weirdest, flipped in, psychologically twisting kind of encounter that's so bizarre. Like, you could have a PC that maybe the PCs have to go into their own brain to uncover or unlock something, and the hazards inside of their brain, whether it's a physical hazard like going inside of their own body, their heart, lungs, the brain, or whether it's a psychological deep dive, like, oh, my character is a warlock or something. And then when they go in, the PC, the literal PC brain, and everyone else, the party goes into that person's psychological maelstrom, literally has to confront elements of the warlock's patron or something. Dead Man says the MTV's old series Liquid TV. Yeah. Very surreal, Dali-esque even. I often brought up Ansel Adams' photography, mixing two unrelated, real life unrelated locations and mixing them together, like looking into the sky and realizing the sun is not a sun but a giant eyeball that maybe blinks slowly and blots out the sun, only to have that eyeball awaken. And maybe when that eye begins to tear up and cry, that's where rain comes from. Or maybe the tear splashes down onto the surface of the world and starts to flood it, or something. Like, you could pull some very strange and surreal things out of fears and dreams and psychological issues. I believe an artist, drew a physical manifestation of a number of medical diagnoses for psychological issues like manic depression, schizophrenia, and actually drew what they thought they would look like. And while I of course, am not a professional at all. I don't even look like a professional on psychological issues, nor am I someone who's trying to make light of those. But we're talking about trying to find fuel for tabletop RPGs, and I think if you could find that out there, hint, Dead Man, yeah, not so subtle hint, that you could create those things where, for example, maybe schizophrenia isn't the correct method, but you could go into a realm where there is a reason why people are, like, say, two-faced, and excuse me, the PCs maybe encounter their complete opposites. Like, the game master could literally say, give me your character sheets, and literally the lawful good paladin, even though I understand paladins don't need to be lawful good, but the PC's playing a lawful good paladin, they could literally just change the alignment on all the character sheets and make them the opposite, or as opposite as necessary, or personalities as opposite as necessary. And this could be like a manifestation of a realm where, or a portion of the setting where um, like there's a, it could be represent like manic depression or split personality or like a schizophrenic type of realm or something. I mean, you could really do that. Now, of course, we're talking about in the exploration pillar. You could have locations that bring about certain things. For example, um, the ever spawning the ever spawn door is a very common thing you could pull on, meaning like there's a door that lets creatures come out of it, like swarms or something, and it's ever spawning. There's always a creature coming out of it eternally, unless you figure out how to shut the door, or fight off enough of the creatures to get close enough to the door to I don't know, throw a fireball inside of it or something, or learn the command word to close it, or what have you. We also thought of from yesterday in World Building Wednesday, we thought of the idea of having victims who are forced into a dreamlike state to harness their fears or torture them to bring about in reality these horrific manifestations. And so maybe stopping the thing, killing the things may not be effective, but finding the clue to unlock the horror that's happening to particular victim might be the way. Like, for example, maybe the PCs have a letter from a family member or a photograph or a wedding ring or something that they are supposed to insert or present to or show to the person who's literally in the middle of this hellscape, who's curled up in a fetus position because they can't face their own fears. And of course the PCs are facing this person's fears, but they get there and show them the family photo or what have you to draw them back out. Or maybe it might be a rescue mission to save the person's who's like curled up in the fetal position, to make them to save them, to draw them past all of their own fears and defend this person until they're able to escape their own mind. I.e., the triangle, right? It's the thing that allows you to change the win conditions. The win condition might be extremely temporary to, hey, I'm going to slay all the doodads that are coming through the dimensional door. But since it'll never stop, it's not really a win condition. But we also even talked about the idea of like Cthulhu, all the psychic creatures, right? The aboleths of the world, the intellect devourers, and other very common Dungeons and Dragons styled creatures and what have you. Or it depends on whatever role-playing game you have, where these creatures like ghosts and things that live in a psychological realm. Maybe if your PCs don't have, or you maybe as a game master, you haven't even thought about the idea of like, oh, if I insert these things in, your PCs can't fight them. Maybe the PCs are able to transfer into a dream realm to fight them physically, right? Oh, we can't hurt the ghosts. I know Dungeons and Dragons has a different method of like you don't necessarily need a magic item to hit a ghost, but follow me on this, right? The ghosts are immaterial. They can haunt the PCs, but the PCs can't fight them. But maybe if the PCs are able to fall asleep through a particular ritual, the PCs go into a dreamscape where all of those ghosts are just regular physical people, and they can punch them in the throat. Now, what I just missed it. I missed a comment, alley-oop. So pop it back in there, unless you specifically wanted to get rid of it. But also, when it comes to navigating a dream-like scape, you don't have to necessarily rely on physical attributes, right? Strength may not be necessary to move a boulder that's clearly 10 times their size, right? Or dexterity may not be the thing that allows you to leap from mile-high plateau to mile-high plateau. Using some of the mental stats, for example, especially in Dungeons and Dragons, with like intelligence, wisdom, charisma, or if your game uses something like insight or knowledge or I don't know, perception or something of that nature, right? Maybe, just maybe, your persuasion or diplomacy stat or skill allows you to navigate past something that physically you can't or wouldn't be able to in a psychological realm. For example, the PCs go into a dark wood, but it's not really a dark wood. Literally, these aren't trees, but there are people like banshees with their feet trapped in the ground and their arms, and they're screaming out their worst horrors. And it's literally like a cacophony of pain and death that you're screaming, and it's like a psychic assault. Dead Man says says the alley-oop's comment was, "What if the hot wind of death just lift a leg and let it rip?" Yeah, you guys could be sarcastic. I don't care about that, man. Yeah, Allie. Yeah, oh, hell yeah, that's what we're here for, man. We're sharing digital pizza before the game starts. That's what this channel's all about. Which, that's a rebrandy. Digital pizza. Dangerous thoughts. Yeah, there's broccoli thoughts and there's bean thoughts. Sometimes there's cauliflower thoughts. Yeah, but anyway, but yes, maybe on the landscape the PCs are like, are those mountains? And like, that doesn't look like mountains. And someone's like, I think that's flesh. Really? So what's that peak? Like, I don't think that's a peak. That mountain valley is really a buttocks. Yeah, oh no, we gotta go in there. No. That's supposed to be the exit. I don't want to go in the outdoor. One PC's like, I'm climbing in. I don't know about you guys. Yeah, just put me in feet first. Push my head down. For those who don't know, there really is a setting that has that in there for Savage Worlds, and it's a setting based on post-apocalypse, and you can play a roach, you can play a cream-filled after the apocalypse, you can play a surviving cream-filled pastry. You can play an alien, the classic Area 52 big-headed aliens with no nose. You can play a hodgepodge animal, and you have a different head, upper body, and lower body, and so you could play like a snake, monkey, rat, or it could be like an elephant, cat, fish, or something. I have it in the other room. I'm not going to go get it, but it's hilarious, and it's so sarcastic, and it's so funny. And yes, there is a naked human face first in the ground that's like hundreds of miles long on the horizon. So it's a real thing, guys. It's for Savage Worlds, and I cannot remember the name of the setting. Oh man, and there's a couple books attached to it. Anyway, sorry, Squirrel. We're going back. We're going back. Although technically it relates to it, right? So if you really want to like have some fun with it, you really want to have some fun. A dreamscape based on bodily functions perfectly fits in. Now, of course, sometimes I I did go over. I'm not going to go over it again. 30 types of dreams and such. You could have parts of your dreams, of this dreamscape, be emblematic of how people dream. So lucid dreaming might be different than, say, like Groundhog Day dreaming, where you have a deja vu where it happens over and over and over again. You could have a dream, the idea of the walls are closing in on me, and because someone has a fear of, or just stressed out, and innocent victim is just like, I feel like the world's just closing in on me. I hate it. And so the PCs go into this realm, and there's always a time limit because everywhere they go, the walls keep closing in on them. It makes no sense that the ceiling's crushing down, or then they go into the next room and the walls start closing in, and then they go into a mountain pass, and the literally the crevice is moving in on them. They're like, Jesus, this person is like, they're really stressed out. We better run our way through this place and get to, show this person I don't know, a picture of their loved one, because if we don't, we're going to get crushed in here, yeah, like, well, damn, here comes the shitstorm in the Cheeky Valley. Literally. Yeah, I wrote down some notes like things like boy, you wear your emotions on your sleeve, or what, your eyes are a window to your soul, or let's paint the town red, or you have a green thumb. Yeah, going into a shitstorm could be a real thing. And let's be honest, right? Some of our worst nightmares are not necessarily related to anything in reality, right? So while a lot of us fear things like falling or burning, which, oh jeez, hell, you could, yeah, you want to scare some people, don't just have like undead, have them on fire, just going after the PCs. Random some old randos in a city or town or something just burst in the flame and walk around like it's no big thing. There's a music video with a person running down the street in slow motion in the video, and the whole time the song goes on, and the video ends with the person literally on fire catching the bus. I don't know what the song it is. I know you guys know it, especially if you're old like me. I know you know it, but like, you could have some rando people just talking to the PCs like, could you lead us to so and so? And the person's like, yeah, well, listen, go 13 blocks that way, make a turn. It's the 13th building. When you get there, the address is 1313. Knock 13 times, and all of a sudden they just burst into flame while they're just talking. The PC's like, what the hell? Like, you guys all right? Dude, your flesh is on fire. Oh, sorry about that. I didn't even notice. But when those things might happen, there's also like little things that just piss us off. Like, I don't know. For example, waiting in line and looking ahead, and there's that one person that's taking their time in line, and you're like 20th in the back of the line, and you're just like, gee, will you hurry up? And you could just have a whole city where everyone's queued up in line, and you're just like, what the hell? Like, really? I gotta wait everywhere? I mean, that's a horror in and of itself, right? Yeah, welcome to the city of brass. Combustion is normal. What are some other horrors? Come on, you guys know them. It's the going to the restaurant and the person keeps getting your order wrong, or it's the I go to tie my shoe and my shoelace breaks, or it's the I can't find my glasses because they're on top of my head. It's the I can't find my keys. Why can't I find my keys? Where's the last place I put my keys? It's the I don't know. Everywhere you look. Yeah. Everywhere you look, you see people with a butt crack. Yeah, there you go. 3 letters. DMV. Yeah. It's like, all right, guys. You turn the corner in the dungeon and you're like, well, what's there? It's your worst nightmare. You're like, is it a ghost? No, it's a lich. No. I bet it's Cthulhu. Nope. You see a long line, and you see one of those little tag dispensers where you have to rip the tag off of it, and the tag says 1,368. And and you look down the line, and you're just like, what the hell is that? Oh, see, so ahead of you, you see Tiamat, you see Asmodeus or something. Yeah, you see a bunch of the other gods and godlings and elder beings, and they're waiting in line to get their divinity license. And there's just like one person, even though you see 6 people in there, all of them have their little signs turned around, like closed, and they're just like, buffing their nails and talking about the day, and they're just like, number 3, and you're like, no. Tiamat like tapping her claw on the ground, like, oh. Zeus is like, this is bullshit. Boom, throwing a lightning bolt, like, sir, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. some like security guard with like a coffee stain on his shirt is like, I'm gonna have to grab Zeus's arm and pulls him out of the building, like, what are you doing? Sir, you're gonna have to get back in line. I'm sorry, I can't help you. What the hell? Yeah. Yeah, a line of eternity. But in all jokingness, of course, all seriousness. No, last time I was joking, this time I'm serious. Well, no, but seriously though, in a joking manner, because this time I'm serious, because last time I was joking, is that you could have so much fun with it, even if it's to alleviate some of the tension, especially if you're a person who loves like horror, and your players are the type that love like a deep-seated psychological like miasma, like something that just is dark and depressing, like in the movie The Cell, they are going into the mind of a serial killer who has one last victim, but the serial killer is in a coma, so they have to go into this person's mind. Now, of course, this is a serial killer. This person is completely guilty of the crime they've committed, but inside this person's mind, there's an innocent child. And so Jennifer Lopez it goes inside the mind with Vince Vaughn. Anyway, they go inside the mind, and the point is to save the life of the child because of the horrific life that this serial killer has been put through to become, that formed this person into a serial killer in the first place. Vincent D'Onofrio plays the serial killer. Anyway, the serial killer is there, and so maybe it's something, maybe you've run a game where it's like really dark and kind of depressing, where the PCs have to save an innocent child in the mind of this person whose mind is just filled with all kinds of horror. And of course, you know, pulling out those I believe it's Dungeon Master's Guide, or maybe it's the Player's Handbook, of like short-term, long-term, permanent madness tables. Or, you know, if you're a fan of Critical Hit Publishing and the cinematic environs, we've got a psychological exhaustion table, much like physical exhaustion, with 6 different ratings, whatever. That's a little, you know, self-promotion there. But sometimes people just we all become mentally stressed over any number of things, either due to physical exhaustion or the stresses of our life. And so those things might just be very temporary. And so that very much could be a thing. Alley-oop says, they found Captain Crunch dead with his head shoved in a cereal bowl with a banana shoved down his throat. Yeah. A cereal? Going, so who did it? Was it Trix the rabbit? Because he's always pissed off because, you know, tricks are for kids and he never gets to eat it. Or is it Tony the tiger? You know, sorry, Captain Crunch, but your cereal is great. Yeah, dark versions of major cereals. All of them like dangerous and bloody. All of those commercials when we were, that always popped up from our kids television shows, like what's the punch? Not Hawaiian Punch, because I believe back in the day he used to really punch people in the face. The other one, the clear punch bowl that's filled with punch and comes jumping through the walls or something. He could like drown you inside of himself while he's like smiling at you. Yeah, Kool-Aid. Yeah, why? How do you forget Kool-Aid? Jeez, my mind. Yeah, the Kool-Aid man could drown you inside of himself. Tony the Tiger could be like, oh yeah, that's right. He used to punch through walls. He was like, oh yeah, although he would never spill anything. And maybe there's a bunch of like really demonic children that are like the cereal's made up of like the remnants of past adventurers and such. And so Kool-Aid Man could drown you. Tony the Tiger, of course, could just be shredding your flesh off of the bones. Um, uh, Tricks the Rabbit might be like the ultimate trickster of such. And what's the owl that always wanted to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll? The Rice Krispie elves. Yeah, they could be baking people. Like all those really great tasting cookies and stuff. It's just like, that tastes pretty good. That tastes like Rathnar the druid or something, right? It's like, what, it does taste like him. Yeah, Keebler elves. Hell yeah. Like, yeah, one crunch, two. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Yep. Sonny the Cuckoo. Oh God. That would be, I mean, come on now. In a dreamscape, how hilarious would that be? And of course, how dark that would be as well. I mean, there's something like, for those who have, I don't have a fear of clowns, but there are some people who have an intense fear of clowns. And if you slide up the Discord down here in the boiler room, you slide up the Discord, you'll see a link to a list of hundreds, probably multiple hundreds, maybe even thousands of alphabetical lists of phobias. And man, yeah, Toucan Sam. Yep. Toucan Sam, wow, I forgot the cereal. I'm mixing, sorry, but my childhood is rushing back in my brain and I'm mixing it all together. Yeah, the Halloween cereals. Cocoa Puffs, Frankenberry, no, Blueberry, Frankenberry, and there was one that they stopped in a lot of those Halloween cereals. Fruit Loops. That's it. Toucan Sam and the Fruit Loops. One of the Halloween cereals were canceled because back in the day it would change the color of your duty. So kids were crapping out funny colored duty, and parents were scared that it was affecting their kids. It's Blueberry, Count Chocula, and Frankenberry. And was it? Yeah, it was Blueberry that was changing the color of little kids' shits, and so they stopped selling it because the color would just flow through you and come in. Oh man. Oh yeah, I know we're big. I know it was. Yeah, we found out that it was safe, but people panic, and food coloring hasn't gotten to the food coloring mixtures hadn't gotten to the level it is today. Although there's quite a few things we have today that kind of change your like urine and feces and stuff like that, change the color of your tongue. But at the time it was an actual panic. Hell, so many candies and things like Pop Rocks and such could be don't eat the Pop Rocks. It's like a fireball going off in your mouth. Blue M&Ms had issues. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize there was an issue with the blue M&Ms. I remember, and I don't know how true this was, but I even heard that M&Ms they're very old, back in World War II, I believe they're old, that they stopped production of red M&Ms because red M&Ms were put on dashboards and things, and they looked like red buttons. I don't know how true that is, but I heard that as an urban legend as a kid. But Tesla says, now you got me thinking of Monty Python's Crunchy Frog sketch. Oh man. But really though, come on now. How many times have we, even when we were much younger, have we seen something, whether it's funny or hilarious or supposed to be innocent, but as a kid, it gave us like, today we look at it and go, it's not a big deal. But as a kid, we were horrified by it. Much like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. You could see something as a kid, much like a child going to an amusement park and seeing the life-size version of like Mickey or any of the human beings dressed up in the giant size versions of the cartoon characters, and the kids get scared of it because on the TV screen you're like, I'm looking at the TV, it's like crush, it's not that big. But when you see something like 5 times your size, you're just like, what the Get it away from me. There's a Bernstein bear trying to eat me. Those things might be pretty scary. So yeah, sure, it may not be very much related to Dungeons and Dragons, but if you're playing a modern day to a far future setting, yeah, that might be a fear of, say, a small child who happened to see a murder and is conflating their child like imagery with a murder that they saw, and their childhood has been taken away from them. And that would make a perfect logical sense to wrap up what was once innocent now is coated in blood and fear and death. And now the child's literally lost their childhood subconsciously, and they no longer think of things as innocent. So all these innocent images become deadly, and it would make perfect sense. Ribbit was skinned alive and cut in half for his legs. That's crazy. Anyway, guys, we've come to the hour mark. Thank you for allowing me to devolve into ridiculousness. And thank you for playing along. I love these chats. Anyway, guys, have a great day. I will see thee later. All right. And the Heraldrix. Hey, baby. Hey, have a great day. You off the computer? Just about. Mr. Spenzar. Oh, hey, there you. Love you, babe. Yeah, name by the name or Care Bear stare has a whole new meaning. Care Bears. Oh man. And, geez, don't videos at 1.25 speed. Yeah, whatever. Gonna hurt yourself there. But no problem, man. Thank you. Anyway, guys, have a great one. I will see thee later. See you tomorrow. Of course, before we end, of course, tomorrow is Future Friday, so please put it. Mr. Spencer says, I wanted to catch you live. Finally did it. I'll re-listen to this now, as all I caught was the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man digression. Dude, we always digress, man. So thank you. I know I get it here in the States. I get up hella early, so it's really hard to catch it unless you're like a diehard or you're just getting off of work or something, or maybe you just are like really impacted. You got a lot of iron in your diet. You got to lift up your bowels. That's another thing. Listen, it's not medically proven, but I'm pretty sure people have told me that. So yeah. Anyway, guys, have a great one. I'll see thee later.